opens up the box and plays the game. He never reads instructions cause they're lame. He's Bowser. He plays the game so badly. His eyes are twitching madly. He's here again so sadly. He's Bowser.
Hello, welcome back. Yes, it is brutal, isn't it? I went full Sigourney Weaver from Alien 3, despite it being the coldest day in the history of the universe. Well, here in Essex anyway. If my hair gets any longer than it was getting, I end up looking like Leo Sayer and everyone takes the piss out of me, so I have to do something about it. You'll also have noticed that I have a theme tune playing over the intro, Bazza's theme, written by Mark Payne, who contacted me, asked me if I wanted one, and if I did, could he do it? So I said yes to both. Then he asked me what I wanted, and I said, something that's crossed between the theme from the Rockford Files and Joe Le Taxi, if you remember that. And I think he's pulled it off. Anyway, joking aside, we are here to play Rambo on the Spectrum and Commodore 64. Going to get the Spectrum version going now. Have to cheat and use an MP3 file on this one, I'm afraid. I don't actually own the tape. Yeah, came out Rambo First Blood, Rambo First Blood Part 2, based on the Sylvester Stallone film that came out in about 1985. Ocean released their various versions of the game in 1985. I knew the C64 version from a friend. I obviously played mostly the Spectrum version. There are differences and similarities between the two, and as ever, I want you, or I would like you, to share your experiences and memories of this game, if you have any of them, if you've ever played it. If you know both versions, and have played both versions, which do you think is the best and why? The Commodore 64 version is, of course, well known for the quality of its music on both on loading and also through the game. It's absolutely phenomenal. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the better game though, so we'll see that as we go through this sort of video. Now I'm just waiting for the loading screen on the Spectrum to ping up. I think it's one of the best loading screens on the Spectrum, and there are some cracking ones, both historically, and obviously people like Andy Green are creating new versions of loading screens for classic games, including for games that didn't have loading screens back in the old days. There we go, there's the screen for Rambo. Be playing that soon. Yeah, I think that's really sort of colourful, really striking loading screen. It's fantastic. So once the game's loaded, going to have a quick play of it. You're not going to get a playthrough of it. You know what my game playing is like now. As the theme tune says, I don't read the instructions much. Well, I don't really. So, yeah, there we go. Going to dive in, show you a bit of the loading screen up close, and then we're going to go into the game itself, the Spectrum version first, then followed by the Commodore 64 version. I hope you enjoy it, okay? Thank you. See you at the end. Hello, right, here we are, the Spectrum version first, Rambo from Ocean Software. Right, I'm going to try and go through it. I'm not very good at it. This is the version I used to play all the time. Now, Rambo, of the two versions, is known really well for the fantastic Commodore 64 loading music and in-game music, which is something else, really. It really is fantastic. But, you know, the Spectrum version is the one that I grew up with and loved, and there are differences between the two, which hopefully over the course of the two videos I'll show you. Right, I have already defined my keys on this, so let's go into the Spectrum version of Rambo. First Blood Part 2. Right, we'll start, and I am, of course, Bazza H. Now, the main difference you're going to see straight away is that Rambo on the Spectrum appears to take place at night. And it's very quiet. 48k beeper sounds for explosions and shots, etc. Now, I've selected the oh god, I'm having a bit of trouble selecting the keys here. Right, okay, that's it. I'm back on the throwing knife for now. Now, the goal of it is to get to the prison camp, blast your way in and save the prisoners of war, whilst killing as many bad guys as you can in the process, I do believe. Oh, right, let's get back to that. Now, as you can see, one of the main differences between the two versions is on the Commodore 64, you get just an energy bar that sort of depletes really quite rapidly at the bottom left of the screen, and on the Spectrum you can see everything's presented in this kind of side panel. Now, on the C64 version, that machine gun I've just picked up is in a static place, never sort of moves. But, you bastard! But on the Spectrum, the weapons that you have to pick up, there's a rocket launcher and a bow and arrow as well. I thought I'd already got the bow and arrow. No, never mind. And they seem to sometimes appear in random locations. So where they were in one playthrough, they don't... Oh, for God's sake! They don't appear in the next one, which means you can spend a bit of time sort of wandering about trying to find them. Now, I walked straight into the blue bloke. And your lives are, of course, displayed as lives. Now, I played this earlier and I got a little bit good at it. Well, good for me. And that didn't last long, did it? Right, come on, Bazza H, let's go again. Yeah, so what, you know, the graphics, although they're obviously designed with the Spectrum's limitations in mind, i.e. they are sort of like one tone, one colour, etc., and not as colourful as the C64 version. They are, however, I think, anyway, sort of clearer defined. They're sort of like more pleasing on the eye. C64 characters are a little bit blocky, a little bit chunky, but the Spectrum version seems to be quite a bit more pedestrian than the Commodore 64 version, and you know, plays at a sort of nicer pace. This is just a little bit ploddy. It doesn't feel particularly actiony. Now, I did enjoy it. It is a really good game, and I am enjoying playing it now. But you know, having now sort of compared the two, I did play them both versions back in the day, because my mate had Rambo on the Commodore 64, and you know, you could. It really was good fun. You know, Commando had been released. I think Commando had been released anyway, and that was a good laugh, a cracking game. But this I enjoyed more than Commando. I don't know why. I could, oh, for God's sake! I could never get very far in either game. But I just seem to enjoy Rambo a little bit more, probably because, like Who Dares Wins 2, there's you know, destructible scenery and stuff like that in there, that you can sort of play around with. If you know you're never going to complete the game, you can just go around blowing up trees and buildings like a proper mad bastard. Let's good lord. Right, I'm not being able to show you much of this. And what I am going to say is that, you know, the sort of black background for the Spectrum version of Rambo, I find makes the enemies' weapons easier to see. Not that it does me any good. See, let's just blow up a tree, because I'm still shit. But, you know, it does add a little bit of fairness to it. So I'd say a plus for the Spectrum version is that the graphics, although, yeah, vastly different and way less colourful, actually look a little bit crisper and sort of clearer, and pleasing on the eye. Musically, you know, there's absolutely no comparison, which again we'll sort of go into when I get round to the Commodore version of things. So what I would like to know is, from a Spectrum point of view, did you play Rambo? Did you enjoy it? What was your favourite game of the sort of ilk? Now, Who Dares Wins 2, I only discovered recently. That's a fantastic game. there is a cracking game called Komando II as well, which is a Slovakian release, which I can't actually remember when it was released, which is absolutely amazing. I'll pop a link to my video of it in the description box below, because I have included in that information as to where you can download the game from if you wish to, and where you can also purchase a physical cassette of the game if you wish to, because it's one of several games carried on the Bump Fun Gaming label, and if you order it from there, you will get a really nice product that you can play on an actual Spectrum. So yeah, I just really want to know what your thoughts of the Spectrum version of Who Dares. This is not Who Dares Wins, is it? It's fucking Rambo. Of Rambo are. I'm never going to get a job with International Rescue. Look at the state of that. Down to 0 lives already. Now, like I say, it's presented quite differently to the Commodore version. I know it came out on the Amstrad as well. I don't have an Amstrad. I've never played it on an Amstrad. How does it fare between the two versions? You know, is it a good version or not? Let me know, please, because I'm interested in it. And I'm going to be shortly dead, seeing as my arrival has been announced to the entire Viet Cong. I'm sorry, POWs that I'm supposed to rescue. You've got the short end of the wedge. Unfortunately, they didn't send Rambo. They sent Baz, which is like sending a wet fish to go and rescue you. Right, where am I going? Right, it's up here somewhere. The fort. I've not found any of the weapons I need, have I? Oh well. Let's just try and get in. Let's just go in all knives blazing, if you can, that is. Let's have the hand grenade selected, ready for, because there's a little bit up here I've got a blast. There. Oh. Now, bearing in mind, Rambo enters the jungle only in his pants, more or less. It's surprising the amount of weaponry he can carry. Ooh, yeah, right, okay, I'm not going to get much further. Let's see if I can blow that up with this. Yay! Come on, let's just blow shit up. Yeah, there's the kitchen. There's the bog. That's, I don't know what that is. That's the telly room. Now there's someone around. I've actually managed to get... Oh, right, okay. Was I supposed to do that? That was the hostage, I think. Have I just knifed them to death? Oh, sorry. It's blowing up your camp. I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, right, that's the Spectrum version of Rambo. I think might have rescued someone. I don't know. I think it's probably highly likely that I've just blown them up accidentally. So I did try to rescue them. That's going to be in the mission debrief. I did try to rescue them, but I killed them. Okay, thanks ever so much for watching that segment. Onto the Commodore 64. Hello, welcome back. Right, as you can see now, we're onto the Commodore 64 version of Rambo First Blood Part 2. The difference you can tell immediately from the Spectrum version is this fantastic music that's going. So I'm going to play the game. Now, as I said at the introduction, you know, at the end of this, let me know what you consider to be the better version. I think we all know what people are going to say, and I can sort of agree with that and understand it. But it's a good game. I really enjoy this game. So let's get into it. So let's just zoom ye oldie camera in. Now, I've got to do this a bit of a strange way, because I've got to be leaning around. So if we look, it gives us, I've got joystick plugged into port 2. Space will select whatever weapons that I have, etc, etc. Basically, there is some exposition there, but it's just kill every other bastard without getting killed. So let's put my name in. We'll go for Bazza. Oh, come on. H. Righty ho. Okay, let's get into this. Now immediately, you know, the music is the defining thing on the Commodore 64 version of Rambo. You basically play Rambo, as we said before. You've got to go around killing everyone. Now I've got several different weapons, as you can see displayed at the bottom there. I've got throwing knives, about 5 million of them by the look of things. Explosive arrowheads, arrows, and around here somewhere there is a machine gun. Now, yeah, there it is, there's the machine gun. Now, contrary to the lyrics of the song, I did actually find out some instructions for this, because I kept on getting killed, and it turned out I was selecting the explosive ammunition first all the time, and that was dragging hordes of them my way. Working with a knife, it's a lot easier. Right, it's a lot easier to get a little bit further, I mean. Now this bit here I've got to blow up, so I've got to select the explosive arrowhead there. And now I'm into the counter. Now they know I'm here, so I might as well just carry on with it. I used to always love oh no, I'm going to die very, very soon. Now one thing I've not been able to find is there any sort of energy or something, you know, replenishment, first aid packs or anything around, or is it just once your energy's gone, that's it, you're dead? I'm suspect... Oh right, there's the prisoner I got free. Oh, bollocks. Yeah, I got very far there, didn't I? Right, let's try that again. Now I did really, really like Rambo back in the day. I also liked Commando as well. I preferred Rambo. I've got to put my name in again, haven't I? Yeah, preferred Rambo out of the two. But very, very recently, from Graham Mason, I got hold of the Spectrum version of Who Dares Wins 2, which is absolutely fantastic. But I've never played it on the Commodore 64. What's it like on the Commodore 64? Is it worth tracking down, or is it, if I've played the Spectrum version, there's no point playing the Commodore 64 version? Let me know, please. Right. Come on, John Jay. Now, what are your memories of the Commodore 64 version of this game? My personal memories are, you know, my mate used to show off about it all the time. We used to play it quite a bit. And I seem to remember not being able to get much further than I've got in these videos. But yeah, the actual music on this, you've got to sort of hold your hands up to that. That is amazing music. Oh wait, I've got to select the arrow again, haven't I? Right. So yeah, I've got to get to the chopper, haven't I? Where's the energy? How do I get me? Oh, yeah, right. Well, I'm not going to get a job with International Rescue anytime soon, I don't think. But it's a really fun game. What I want to do is do more of these things. So let's just turn that up so that you can sort of hear this a bit, because it really is amazing. More of these side-by-side comparisons. So any suggestions you have, please let me know. And I'll try and get round to them. Because I'm really, really enjoying it. So I'm just going to let this music play just for a while. Then I'm going to go into playing without rabbiting over it, so you can catch the full soundtrack if you like. Lasted long there again, didn't I? Right, Bad's going to have one more game. I would love to try and show you more of this, but you know, I'm not the world's greatest game player. Like the intro says, I hardly ever read the instructions, but I did on this one. Right, come on. One more go. See how far I can get. Now, I know I've got to rescue a hostage and then go somewhere else after that. Right, I tried my best to show you both games there, did woefully at both of them. Just to show you, if you weren't ever aware, if you're sort of like new to these kind of microcomputers, etc., the Spectrum and the Commodore 64, just to show you what they're like, what the similarities between games are, and what the differences are. Obviously the Commodore 64 version, as you can see, is far more colourful. I think the graphics are chunkier. But the music is what wins it for me. I really always enjoyed Rambo on the Spectrum. I still do, but now owning this and being able to sort of play it, you've got to hold your hands up and say, yeah, that is a fantastic version. Anyway, thanks ever so much for sticking with me if you've managed to get this far. Please, if you like the video, please let me know. If you wish to subscribe, please do so. I want to know as well if you think this works, this style of video, doing the two versions, etc. I know there are other channels that do multiple versions across multiple formats, much better than I will be able to ever do it. But I'm just interested to see whether or not people enjoy this, if it's something that you want to watch. Because yeah, there's no harm in trying different things. Thanks ever so much for watching. Take care. Goodbye. Right, before I get to the actual conclusion, let's address a sort of elephant in the room. Now, having spent a long time yakking about the quality of the music on the Commodore 64 version, you'll have noticed that what's missing from the video is actually the excellent loading music. The reason being, when I remembered I had to sort of include it, the tape I have of Rambo for the Commodore 64 is incredibly twitchy, and out of every 11 or 12 times I try to load it, it will fail. And by the time it loaded first time when I did the video, the gameplay video, etc. But then when I remembered I had to do the loading music, I tried to load it again, and it just kept failing and failing and failing and failing. In the end, I just gave up. So to conclude, I think they're both really great games. The Spectrum version obviously is the one that I know, sort of grew up with. I know it far better than the Commodore version. I think the graphics are really nice, although they're not as colourful as the Commodore 64 version. They're not as blocky, and I think they're better detailed. However, the Spectrum version is quite pedestrian in its pacing. The C64 version is a lot more frantic, a lot more seems to be going on. I love the way the Spectrum version is presented with the bar to the side panel on the screen. I much prefer that to the energy bar at the bottom left hand corner of the Commodore version, and the weapon selection screen is a lot cleaner, a lot clearer to understand and see what's going on. But in all, they're both really great games. I enjoyed playing both of them today. As you could see, I didn't get very far. Now, this video's gone on for 25 minutes. Is that too long? Let me know. Thanks ever so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye. See you in the next round.